Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Likon Obanjo. Look at the top stories at this hour. Nigerian government adds 625 megawatts to national grid. Young first-time voters express hope, concerns ahead of Chad presidential election. Tunisian police evacuate hundreds from migrant camp. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin by telling you that the Nigerian government has announced the addition of 625 megawatts of power to the national grid, increasing the grid's wheeling capacity to 4,800 megawatts. This was disclosed by the Special Advisor Strategic Communications to the Minister of Power, Bola Tinubu, in Abuja. Bolaji quoted the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, as saying this at the inauguration of the 63 megavolt ampere 132 by 33 kilovolt mobile station at Aja, Lagos State, and at the inauguration of the 60 megavolt ampere 132 by 33 kilovolt power transformer in Benin Kebbi State. According to the minister, the pivotal project is a testament to the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu towards transforming the power sector in the pursuit of reliable and sustainable energy infrastructure for a better Nigeria. In the meantime, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, has unbundled the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, by establishing the Nigerian Independent System Operator of Nigeria Limited, NISO. NEC made this known in an order dated April 30, 2023, and signed by the Chairman, Sanusi Garba, and Vice Chairman, Musiliu Oseni. NEC also ordered the Bureau of Public Enterprises to, within 30 days, register the Independent System Operator as a distinct entity from the Transmission Company of Nigeria with the Corporate Affairs Commission. The Nigerian Independent System Operator Limited will be responsible for managing the national grid and other system operations related to the market contracts and transactions. Anyway, from that, we tell you that President Bola Tinubu will commission 3 critical gas infrastructure projects being undertaken by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and partner. This was disclosed in a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale. He said the project supports government's efforts to grow value from the nation's gas assets while eliminating gas flaring. The projects lined up for commissioning include the AHL Gas Processing Plant 2. The second project, the ANOH Gas Processing Plant, is a processing plant designed to process non-associated gas from the Asa North or Haji South Field in Imo State. Lastly, the ANOH OB3 CTMS gas pipeline project will evacuate dry gas from the Asa North or Haji South Primary Treatment Facility to the OB3 Custody Transfer Metering Station for delivery into the OB3 pipeline system. And now, to help us understand this better, I'm being joined by an energy consultant, Seun Dania. Seun, it's nice to have you around on the news.
Hi, good afternoon.
To be very candid, will the commission of these 3 gas projects effectively grow the value of Nigeria's gas assets and eliminate gas flaring?
Oh, evidently. As we process more gas, we'll be reducing waste. The projects definitely will unlock the full potential of Nigeria's gas reserves, making it more valuable for Nigeria. And of course, the reduction of gas flaring, utilizing our gas, producing, processing, it will reduce gas flaring, which will significantly decrease the environmental impact and economic losses associated with gas flaring. But it's definitely a significant thing for Nigeria's gas sector.
Well, the idea is to deepen domestic gas supply as a critical enabler of economic prosperity. But will it in any way lead to a reduction in price? Because to the ordinary Nigerian, that is the most important.
The timelines of price reduction might be, it will depend on several factors. But evidently, once there's an increase in supply, prices will come down. I think basic economics. Long-term sustainability is one of the things that we also need to put into consideration for us to see the actual price reductions. So if we have a reliable, constant supply to the domestic markets, and we reduce our dependence on imports, we have control over our pricing. Evidently, we will see price reduction, but of course, it will take some time. but it is evident that more people will then, emulate these things, build more gas plants, increase supply of gas, and Nigerians will start to benefit from our natural resources, which we have in abundance.
Mm. Now, Seun, aside dilapidated infrastructure, we know that inadequate gas supply is also contributing to epileptic power supply in the country. Now, I'd like to find out if Nigeria is able to increase the availability of gas for domestic use, can that lead to increased power generation for the country, notwithstanding the fact that we still have issues with dysfunctional system and, of course, infrastructure that is not so optimal at this time?
I think in the power generation side of things, most of the issues that we've experienced has actually been in transmission and not really generation. Of course, but to answer your question, increased gas supply would definitely increase power generation because we have gas in abundance. Nigeria Gas Company working hand in hand with all the power generating companies, build bigger gas plants which will generate electricity for the country. And evidently, the more gas we have makes it more affordable, then the average Nigerian will see the reduction in cost of power, and then it's a win-win. Businesses too will excel. Businesses will be spending less on generating power, and the Nigerian economy will definitely see the positives out of it.
Talking about positives, let's look at the commodities now. We're talking about dry gas, condensate, and LPG. Are these prospects for exports? Are they good enough for exports?
Oh, evidently, as Nigeria is already, we export a lot of LNG. That's the liquefied natural gas, which, that is the dry gas. LPG, which we use for cooking, heating, it can also be exported to neighboring countries after we have, satisfied our local demands. But every product is exportable. However, we need to build a lot of infrastructure for these exports, depending on the kind of gas that we're talking about. But there, of course, if we have big enough plants that we have export quantity, definitely. But LNG, we already are exporting on a daily basis.
So talking about building infrastructure, sure you understand that Nigeria is still dealing with the issue around asset vandalism, pipeline vandalism, vandalism on national assets and all that, and that in a way affects what Nigeria is able to produce, either oil or gas. And at the end of the day, we do not have a sufficient volume that can go around for domestic consumption. So what do you think is the best way to deal with the issue around sabotage of national assets?
So I think first thing is the political will to do it, right? Once we have the political will, then we can then consult like the Petroleum Industry Act, where there's some recommendations on community engagement. If we work with the local communities, build trusts, encourage them, to report vandalism attempts and also even stop vandalizing. And then ultimately on the government side, part of the political will would then be trust and accountability. We are sure that there's a lot of transparency. People are seeing the benefits of these projects in their local communities and in the broader sense of things, that they are not just saying it that things are being exported from their local communities and they're not making any benefits. I believe that there will be a reduction in vandalism, and of course we still need to factor in there will be some bad eggs, put in strong security measures. But I believe that at the end of the whole day, we trust transparency, good political will. We would not need to spend so much on trying to secure assets that we have. Gas is very, very, very volatile. And I'm sure even people that go near gas, crude oil pipelines will definitely not go near a gas pipeline because that will be very disastrous. But yeah, trust, transparency, political will to do it. Once we have all of that, I believe that we'll start recording successes.
Well, I believe that a lot of people are optimistic about this and what transformation it can bring to Nigeria's gas industry and, of course, the country's economy. Seun Dania, energy consultant, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you much for having me. Have a great weekend.
And you too. Moving on now, two of Nigeria's former presidents, Goodluck Jonathan and General Abdulsalam Abubakar, retired will receive awards as democracy champions as Nigeria gets set to mark 25 years of uninterrupted democracy on its annual Democracy Day celebration. The event will be holding at the Songs of Nigeria Festival, organized by arts and culture enthusiasts in collaboration with several key government agencies and international development partners, including Nigeria's Ministry of Information, Nigeria's Ministry of Culture, UNESCO, the Performing Musicians Association of Nigeria, amongst others. Organizers of the festival say it aims to celebrate the nation's rich cultural heritage using arts, music, and culture to deepen the nation's democracy.
We may not exactly be where we would have loved to be, but 25 years of uninterrupted democracy is not only something to cheer about, but a milestone that is worth celebrating, with a view to consolidating a government of the people, for the people, and by the people in our nation. This year's edition of Songs of Nigeria Festival, Sonifest, has been dedicated to the commemoration of Nigeria's democracy at 25 and has as its theme, Celebrating Nigeria's Democracy at 25. It is for the same reason also that we have elected to rally the nation's art and culture community, as well as our vibrant democracy constituency, to celebrate Nigeria's unprecedented quarter of a century unbroken democracy. All in all, this year's edition of Sonifest is a modest contribution to the nation's art and culture constituency. Under our auspices towards effective integration of our 25-year-old democracy into Nigeria's rich culture, and at the same time, using her cultural heritage to deepen democracy in our land.
That the Federal High Court sitting in Warri, Delta State, has heard the 3 suits filed by the people of Okuama community in Ewu Kingdom, Ugeli South local government area of the state against the federal government and the Nigerian army, the Delta State government and the State Police Command over the killing of 17 army officers in Okuama community by yet to be identified persons and wanton destruction of property. News Central's Austin Azu completes the reports.
The sad incidents of March 14, where 17 soldiers were ambushed and killed at the riverbank of Okuama community, Delta State, was triggered by military reprisal attacks that raced down the community. Declaration of the King of Ewu and others wanted, bringing pain and agony to the people of Okuama community. The people of Okuama community have now filed damage claims of 100 billion naira against the Nigerian army at the Federal High Court in Warri. The 3 cases are seeking, among others, the enforcement of fundamental rights to life, personal liability, dignity of human persons, right to acquire and own immovable property, and right to presumption of innocence as guaranteed in the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended 2023. Among the respondents in the cases are the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Federal Government, Attorney General of the Federation, Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Nigeria Army, Governor of Delta State, Commissioner of Police, Delta State Command, Attorney General of Delta State and Commander, 181 Amphibious Battalion, Nigeria Army, Agbo, Delta State. Professor Joseph Abugu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who led a team of lawyers for the applicants in the suit, told the court that the Nigeria Army and other respondents have been duly served notice of the applications. The respondents and their legal representatives were, however, not in court. Speaking with journalists, Professor Abugu accused the Nigeria Army of invading and raising down Okuama community.
We do think that the actions of the military in invading Okuama community on a vengeance mission is unconstitutional. It's a breach of the fundamental rights of the indigenes and residents of Okuama community. And since the court is the last hope of the common man, the community has no army of its own and is powerless before the army. But before the courts, we expect to get justice. And that's why we're here.
Meanwhile, the presiding judge, Justice Sanin, has adjourned the hearing on the applications to June 4, 2024. In Warri, Delta State, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Now, talking about tanker explosion still in Delta State, no fewer than 7 persons have been reported dead after a fuel tanker fell and exploded along the Warri Sapele Road in Delta State, south Nigeria. The fuel tanker fell and exploded on Friday morning near Ometan Junction along the dilapidated, ever-busy Warri Sapele Road. It was gathered that a mother and a child were among those who died when the fuel-laden tanker lost control and fell, spilling its content on the road before exploding. Houses and businesses were burnt as a result of the fuel tanker explosion. Meanwhile, the state governor, Sheriff Oboyewori, has visited the scene of the incident. This incident is coming exactly a week after the tanker explosion in Rivers State that killed many, destroyed property worth millions of naira.
Morning around the kind 10 o'clock. So when the rain went for, so we can't see say the head of the truck, he just put a mud. As he just put a mud, now the back of the rock, whoa, small time, now the fire just catch. As when the fire just catch, now the fuel called the pump, people come they try to run, and this woman went in the front, he called this motherfucker run. So now he can't come back again. Say make call carry pikin. As he come back, say make carry pikin. Now the fire just trap over there. Now so the fire just burn, destroy the house, destroy generator, destroy food. Both yonder, both that bar when they yonder, he destroy them. Destroy that lorry with the so kill a person for there. That boy try to run. Now the fire just meet her there, kill her there too.
A very, very sad incident. Commiserating with my colleague in Rivers, what happened a few days back. This is happening in my state. Very sad.
You're watching News Now. A short break we'll do right here. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. The Court of Appeal has granted an ex parte motion for stay of proceedings filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against the contempt proceedings initiated by former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello against the EFCC Chairman Ola Olukoyede, presided over by Honorable Justice Joseph O.K. Oyewole. The Court of Appeal has given its nod to EFCC's application to serve the processes in the appeal through substituted means to the former governor. Consequently, the court has rescheduled the hearing of the motion on notice to May 20, 2024. The FCC chairman, who faced a summon to appear before the Kogi State High Court on May 13, 2024, to justify his actions and potentially face imprisonment for alleged disobedience of court orders, swiftly appealed the trial court's ruling and sought a stay of the proceedings. At this point, to discuss this, I am joined by the Executive Director, Sterling Center for Law, Deji Ajari. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Deji.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's start this way. Did the EFCC chair flout legal procedures or really put itself in contempt of courts in its conduct involving former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello?
Sorry, what was the question again?
So I actually want to establish if the EFCC, chaired by Ola Olukoyede, actually flouted legal procedures or probably put itself in contempt of courts in its conduct involving the former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello.
Okay, well, in my opinion and based on information available to me, I do not think really that the EFCC has conducted itself in a contemptuous manner.
Okay.
My reasons are simple, and like I said, this is based on information available to me. Yes, indeed, there was an order of a Kogi State High Court prohibiting the EFCC from arresting the governor, but that order did not preclude the EFCC from filing charges against the former governor of Kogi State, nor did it preclude the EFCC from serving on the former governor the charges that have been filed in court. And to the best of my knowledge, I think all the EFCC tried to do with former Governor Yahaya Bello was to serve the charge on the governor, and an effort which were prevented by the governor and aided by the prevented by the former governor and aided by the current governor. And so I do not
sorry to butt in here.
The EFCC can say,
Deji, I'm so sorry to butt in here. As at the time, EFCC operatives laid siege at Yahaya Bello's residence. Were they there at that time to serve him a court summon or to have him arrested? We need to establish that also.
The EFCC was clear. What they did at that time was, one, to serve him to serve the charges on him and to bring him to court to arraign him. At that time, I recall very well, it was on a Wednesday, and the hearing, the arraignment was for the next day, Thursday. So I really do not see how that really is contemptuous of that order of the courts of Kogi State.
Okay, so let's look at what the Kogi State High Court, how it played its own role here. Now, is it within the confines of law in this case for Justice Jamil of the Kogi State High Court to order the EFCC to stop taking certain actions against Yahaya Bello? Because this is a person who, based on evidence, has been accused of corruption and is no longer under immunity.
Well, you see, the thing about our justice system is that the court, they are the superior bodies in Nigeria in terms of law enforcement, and nobody can be said to have been indicted until they have been given an opportunity to either explain themselves, and then hearing is done, and then a decision is reached. So yes, as to whether a court has powers to summon the EFCC chairman, or in fact anybody at all, including the president of Nigeria, yes, the court has the powers. But whether indeed the court will be right if it reached a decision that yes, the EFCC or its chairman was in contempt of that court is a totally different thing. And I think the EFCC has taken the appropriate step by approaching a higher court to ask it to suspend whatever is happening in Kogi State. And without wanting to sound like I am indicting the judiciary generally, or in Kogi State or generally, I would want to say that there is enough reasons for anybody, including the EFCC, to be suspicious of whatever order is coming from Kogi State, considering the kind of hold that the former governor Yahaya Bello has on the entire organs of government in the state. I mean, the judiciary, the legislature, and the entire executive structures. And so it is not, it will not be uncanny of anybody to be suspicious and to want to be protected. And I think the EFCC has done the appropriate thing by approaching a superior court, the Court of Appeal, to ask it to intervene in the matter and decide whether indeed it has acted in contempt of that court. Okay. And in the meantime, an interim order has been made, asking the lower court to stop all proceedings in relation to the contempt charge against the EFCC chairman. I think that's just the appropriate thing to do.
Okay, so just as you have said now, we see that the EFCC chairman, of course, disagreed with the contempt charge and appealed to the Court of Appeal to put the contempt case on hold while the appeal is being heard. Now, the Court of Appeal will decide whether the EFCC chairman is guilty of contempt after considering the full case. According to law, you're an expert here. Which side do you think the pendulum will swing by the time all these cases are tabled in court?
What you're asking me to do is beyond my professional competence. I am not a judge. I am only a lawyer.
Of course.
I cannot speak specifically as to what will happen. But if you ask me that, really, genuinely, what's my opinion? What would I have as an outcome? I will tell you that, like I have told you at the beginning, I do not think that the EFCC has acted in contempt of the court in Kogi State. Now, for context, I am not holding brief for the EFCC. And I am not sitting down to say, the EFCC is such a perfect organization or whatever it is. What I am saying here, at least in relation to the attempt the investigations and arraignment of Governor Yahaya Bello, I do not see how it has acted wrongly. In fact, if anything at all, considering the fact that, I mean, for anybody who has been watching the EFCC over the years and, you know, who has studied the antics of the EFCC, we would really give some kudos to the EFCC as it relates to this current case. They have acted very professionally, a deviation from the previous posturing on issues like this. We all remember when the EFCC was going to arrest former governor of Imo, going through the ceiling and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, we did not see that here. They could have also done that here. It could have turned bloody. I mean, we could have, you know, a lot of things could have happened, but they didn't. They acted very professionally. So I think we should give a thumbs up to the EFCC on its conduct as relates to the case involving former Governor Yahaya Bello.
Okay, DJ Ajari, Executive Director, Sterling Center of Law, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. And now to health matters. The Nigerian Red Cross Society has called the federal government and will-spirited individuals to continue to support efforts aimed at providing humanitarian aid to the poor and vulnerable. This was as the Red Cross unveiled its program for the celebration of the International Red Cross Day, saying humanitarian and aid workers deserve to be celebrated for the resilience and doggedness to reaching millions in need. Amadine Uyi tells us more in this report.
With changing weather patterns, visible effects of climate change, and millions who continue to be displaced by wars and conflicts, experts say humanitarian aid workers have their work already cut out. As the Nigerian Red Cross gets set to mark the 2024 World Red Cross Day, they commend the commitment and resilience of humanitarian aid workers.
In the course of our commitment, we have witnessed the worst of brutality to humanity, but we also have seen the very best in human kindness. Strangers have become united into a single family. Great community efforts in resilience have been observed with individuals rising above adversity.
As we commemorate the 8th of May, it is a time to reflect on the numerous contributions that the volunteers are providing within the different communities.
They urge humanitarian aid workers to recommit themselves to the values that motivates their work to reach out to millions in need.
Let us recommit ourselves to the principles of neutrality, impartiality, and independence. Let us continue to stand in solidarity with those affected by conflict, disaster, and crisis. Let us amplify the voices of the vulnerable and the marginalized.
We also take this opportunity to remind that humanity is really what brings us all together, and that's why the theme for this year's celebration on 8th of May will be Keep the Humanity Alive. The humanity was the main reason behind the foundation of this international movement 160 years ago. It is a call on each and every one of us here, including the public, to say we can alleviate the suffering of the most vulnerable if we take into cognizance that each and every one of us is a human being. We have a responsibility to one another, and we can actually support one another if we take that initiative.
Activities for the International Red Cross Day will run throughout the course of the next 1 week. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The Adamawa State government has confirmed that 42 people have died due to an outbreak of measles. Commissioner of Health and Human Services Felix Tangame, who provided an update on the outbreak, said the deaths occurred in Mubi and Gombe local government areas. He said the outbreak affected 8 wards in Mubi and 7 wards in Gombe. The commissioner also gave the death toll of 42 of the 308 affected persons in both local government areas. As part of measures to avert further spread, Tangame said all local government areas in the state had been put on red alert. He also said his ministry, on receiving reports of the outbreak, responded swiftly which was why it was able to manage the situation. Nigeria's federal government has received the final report of its Inter-Ministerial Investigative Committee on degree racketeering within and outside the country. Nigeria's Minister of Education, while receiving the report in Abuja, assured that government will sanitize the nation's educational system, especially areas identified by the report. Edong Joseph tells us more.
The report has been much awaited by the Ministry of Education, following outcry of certificate racketeering by universities in and outside the country. In December of 2023, there was an investigative report by a Nigerian journalist that revealed how he obtained a university degree within 6 weeks, and that prompted the federal government to inaugurate a committee to investigate the saga. After 16 weeks, the committee has concluded work and submitted its findings.
The so-called University of Interest, where the journalist was supposed to have gotten his degree in the ESGT. The building where we visited, Honorable Minister, it's anything but a university. It was maybe a 5 or 6 bedroom bungalow. There was not a single computer in the whole building. They were teaching computer science.
The committee also raised concerns over the suspected involvement of some federal officials in the evaluation of suspected graduate names submitted by an agent of the university from Benin.
We asked the people who collect money on behalf of the ministry for evaluation. They also said that the list has not passed through their own desk, and so no money was paid. So it was very obvious to us that some people are running a parallel system, a parallel evaluation system in the ministry.
The committee also called for more supervision of university part-time and sandwich programs, and also the digitalization of the education sector. The Minister of Education, while receiving the report, expressed commitment to ensure the implementation of the findings.
Go into the details of it as a ministry and then take decisions on matters that ministry can take decisions on. Those that have to go further will pass it further.
The Minister of Education assured that no stone will be left unturned in sanitizing the education sector. In Abuja for News Central, I am Edong Joseph.
Now, there is growing tension in Maiduguri's Baga fish market as a power struggle erupts within the local fish producers and marketers association. The youth and elderly members of the association are at odds after the current leadership, which has been in place for 21 years, prevented them from holding a Congress meeting to change the leadership. News Central's Omar Kirawa completes the reports.
Brisk business of the people in the Lake Chad, fish production and marketing. The relative peace in the region is bringing up multiplicity of job opportunities to the teeming populace. This group of young and elderly of the Fish Producers and Marketers Association are at the NUJ Press Center, Maiduguri, to voice out their concerns.
Kuma kundin tsari muna da constitution da ya bada cewa shekara hudu za a yi a sauka mulki, yau shekaran su 21 kuma ana karban kudaden mu babu takardan ko tsire da ake bamu, babu receipt da ake bamu.
An dira mu wanjin ba gwamnati daidai isu suru ausha da ga wanda fitina don yi dunon duye sa ko zina kasu roga yi.
To a gaskiya muna fata gwamnati ta shiga cikin wannan haraka. Ya za a ce daga Baga zuwa Maiduguri mu biya miliyan 1.500 a trailer da banan. Wani ya zo daga Onace Onugu Asabar Lagos Kano Kaduna ya cika trailer zuwa kasan su 10,000 a karbi da banan. Mu ba 'yan kasa bane.
Now, the rival factions are appealing to the government to intervene and ensure a democratic transition of power after police disrupted their attempted Congress meeting.
All avenue has been exhausted. We don't have hope anywhere. I think the hope is you guys and the EFCC, who are now seriously or thoroughly investigating the embezzlement these people committed on the government revenue.
Other dealers in the Baga fish market, Maiduguri, have this to say.
Kudi ne za a hada shi ko baka ba na mutum 30 ko 20 ko baka ba a wuri daya a je a biya naira 500,600 ne a biya sai a ɗauko da sit ɗin sai a kawo shi idan aka kawo shi ko baka ba an riga an biya kuɗin wannan mota kenan. Mutane suna bukatan wai kowanne wai in an kama ka kwali biyu ko baka ba ka je a baka receipt ka tabbatar ka biya naira 3,000 tukuna wai kafin ka tabbatar ka biya wa gwamnati kuɗinsa. Wannan kuma jahilci ne ko baka ba.
Residents fear the dispute could disrupt the important fish trade that the Baga market is known for, which supports many local livelihoods.
Allah shine zamani shi yake kawo zamani. Babu wani mutumin da zai dora abin da Allah bai dora ba.
Amza soluna samilan social media lan godana andero soro dioro jana sakin. Shinde nam zain armaru mo jimba ndusire ande kasanya ba.
Resolving the leadership crisis through inclusive and lawful means is crucial for maintaining stability and livelihoods in the community. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umori Kirawa.
Coming up on the news, young first-time voters express hope, concerns ahead of Chad's presidential election. We'll bring you details in a short while. Don't go away. The news continues in Central Africa, where data from the United Nations shows that in Chad, 1 in 3 people are aged 10 to 24. Young people in this country, among the poorest in the world, are preparing to elect for the first time their new president on May 6, divided between hope and worry, including disillusionment.
Ma motivation pour voter est que je prendrai quelqu'un qui sera à mesure de comprendre les besoins des jeunes et qui serait apte à répondre directement. Mais là, j'hésite parce que je vois qu'un des candidats ne peut faire ça. Et voilà, je peux dire qu'en quelque sorte, ça me démotive au fait.
Quelque chose de négatif. Massa, c'est ça l'opposant que les Tchadiens attendent. Et nous avons vraiment aimé qu'il soit à la tête de ce pays pour nous.
C'est les hommes là qui connaissent, n'est-ce pas, c'est les hommes des droits. Donc ils connaissent comment conduire, n'est-ce pas, les pays. Donc c'est pour cela que nous acceptons d'être derrière eux. Et c'est eux seulement qui connaissent comment conduire les pays. Donc.
From that, the U.S. has blamed the Rwandan army and the M23 rebel group for the deadly bombing of a displacement camp in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At least 9 people, including 7 children, were killed in a strike on the Mugunga camp in the eastern city of Goma on Friday. The Congolese army and M23 blamed each other for the attack. Rwanda, which borders DR Congo, is widely accused of backing the rebel group, which it denies. The U.S. State Department said Friday's attack came from positions held by the Rwanda Defense Force and the M23 group. The latest strike comes days after M23 fighters claimed that they had seized the town of Rubaya, an area which is at the heart of mining coltan used for making mobile phones and batteries for electric vehicles. In North Africa, Tunisian authorities have expelled hundreds of sub-Saharan asylum seekers, migrants and refugees from encampments in the capital, Tunis. The latest expulsions came days after far-right Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's visit to Tunis, her 4th in less than a year, to sign deals aiming to curb migration. Makeshift settlements in Tunis, including near the International Organization for Migration, were destroyed as the migrants were deported to the Algerian border. Up to 700 sub-Saharan migrants had set up makeshift encampments in an area north of the Gulf of Tunis in the past few months. In Southern Africa, French prosecutors are investigating oil giant TotalEnergies for possible involuntary manslaughter in connection with a 2021 attack in Mozambique. The probe follows a legal complaint brought by victims' families and attack survivors, accusing the French energy company, which was developing a major gas liquefied project in the region, of failing to protect its subcontractors. The survivors and families say TotalEnergies also failed to provide fuel so that helicopters could evacuate civilians after Islamic State-linked militants killed dozens of people in the Mozambican port town of Palma on March 24, 2021. The entire attack on Cabo Delgado province lasted several days, claiming several hundreds of lives. Some of the victims were beheaded and thousands fled their homes. From other continents, we tell you that U.S. President Joe Biden took pointed digs at election rival Donald Trump on Friday as he awarded the country's top civilian honor to Democratic allies, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Al Gore. Biden said the veteran Pelosi had defended democracy during the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol by a mob of Trump supporters enraged by the Republicans' election loss a few weeks earlier. He said Gore was amazing for accepting his own disputed election loss to George W. Bush in the year 2000 for the sake of the country. The comments came as 81-year-old Biden presented them with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in a ceremony at the White House.
Michael Bloomberg has revolutionized our economy. He's transformed how we consume information. He's changed us. He's challenged us as well to solve the toughest challenges, from gun violence to climate change. As the first Asian actor to win an Oscar as Best Actress, she bridges cultures not only to entertain, but also inspire and open hearts, and that's what she keeps doing. Congratulations. This guy, Al Gore, has demonstrated a love of country and showed the world how to lead. John Kerry was a patriot of the highest order. I can personally attest that my dear friend has as much moral courage in his pursuit of American politics as he did physical courage that earned him a Silver Star in Vietnam. You're the real deal, John. Nancy is a brilliant, practical, principled, and determined leader. Her accomplishments are overwhelming, and I predict, and I've said this to her for a while, history will remember you, Nancy, as the greatest Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Away from that, the health ministry in Hamas-run Gaza says that at least 34,654 people have been killed in the Palestinian territory during almost 7 months of war between Israel and Hamas. According to a ministry statement, the tally includes at least 32 deaths in the past 24 hours. It added that 77,908 people have been wounded in the Gaza Strip since the war broke out when Hamas militants attacked Israel on October 7. In business, the Kenyan government has invited a consultant to relook into the cryptocurrency regime, signaling a shift from the hardline position Central Bank of Kenya has been holding over digital currencies in the past. President William Ruto revealed that Marathon Digital Holdings has been invited to consult with the National Treasury and Energy Ministry over the cryptocurrency regime. Marathon Digital Holdings is one of the largest Bitcoin miners in North America. The company converts energy into economic value by processing Bitcoin transactions, creating newly minted Bitcoin, and keeping Bitcoin's distributed ledger up to date. In the world of sports, the profile of former Nigeria Premier League football winger Ibrahim Olajuwon as the 2023-2024 English Championship season gradually closes down. Nigeria Super Eagles forward Kelechi Iheanacho, but they turned down the offer. Away from that, Arsenal extended their lead over Manchester City by 4 points in the English Premier League, courtesy a huge 3-0 win over Bournemouth. The North Londoners were excellent throughout the game and sealed the deal with 3 good goals. They have 83 points with 2 games remaining, while City have 79 points with 4 games to go. City play hosts to Wolverhampton Wanderers later on Saturday. Bukayo Saka, Leandro Trossard, and man of the match Declan Rice were the goal scorers for Arsenal.
وقائمة عرضية داخل منطقة الجزاء، محاولة لمصلحة أرسنال، تسديدة الله الله الله، سجلوا رباعية أرسنال. ديكلان رايس الآن يبحث عن كرة ملعوبة، تروسار يأتي البرازيلي جابرييل جيسوس.
That's all at this hour, but before we go, we take a look at some of our top stories. Nigerian government has added 625 megawatts to the national grid. Young first-time voters have expressed hope, concerns ahead of Chad's presidential election. We also told you that Tunisian police have evacuated hundreds from migrant camp. Do send your Arabic News report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Arvo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onobanjo.